Hello students, if you will take your foldable, your blue foldable, and we are going to fold it in like window shutters. Notice I'll leave in where it says fractional operations, where you can read that. And then we're going to look today at multiplying and dividing fractions. We're going to start with multiplying fractions. Your number one rule is, first of all, you have to change any mixed number to improper fraction. That's your first step. Please write these down on your foldable. Number two, if you have a whole number, you need to place a 1 under it. For example, if you have 4 divided by 1/2, that would equal 4 over 1 divided by 1/2, and then you would do your keep change flip. Step number 3, you may cross cancel at this point. Now this is a step that is optional. You do not have to do that. I will show you during class, and if you choose to do that, you may. It sometimes makes your life easier when you cross cancel, makes the number smaller and saves you from having to do a lot of simplifying at the end. Step number 4, you need to multiply your numerator times numerator. Step number 5, multiply denominator times denominator. And step number 6, finally, simplify if possible, meaning you want to change improper fractions to mixed numbers in the simplest form. And then check for your integer rules or your positive, negative rules. Okay, so let's look at some examples. On the first one, our first step, change any mixed number to improper fraction. So I'm going to go 4 times 2 plus 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. Same denominator, negative 9/4 times, for negative 6 2/3. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 2 is negative 20/3. So my denominator stays the same. You can, at this point, you can either multiply straight across or you can cross cancel. So for example, you would look at the 9 and the 3. What's their greatest common factor? 3 goes into 9 and 3 goes into 3. So 3 goes into 9 3 times, 3 goes into 3 1 time. Then look at 4 and 20. Their greatest common factor would be 4. 4 goes into 4 once. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So now you just multiply 3 times 5 is 15. 1 times 1 is 1. And that equals 15. I have a negative times a negative, which would make that positive 15. For example, number 2. 6 times 4 is, we're going to change it to improper fractions. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 1 is 25 over 6. Times, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Negative 7/3, and my denominator stays the same. Now, when you look at this one, 25 and 3 do not have a common factor. 6 and 7 do not have a common factor. So I have to, in this case, just multiply straight across. 25 times 7 is 175. 6 times 3 is 18. And if you divide that out, 175 divided by 18, 18 goes into 175 9 times.
This afternoon for the football game, please make sure that you are outside at the gate location by 4. Thank you.
Okay, so 9 times 8, 72. 9 plus 7 is 16. 5 minus 2 is 3. 7 minus 6 is 1. So that would be 9 and 13 over 18. And we need to look and see negative times a negative, so that makes that a positive. Okay, and if you will pause the video and work the third example, and then come back and check your work. The correct answer is 23 and 1/10. If you did not get that correct, go back and see if you can find your mistake. Go back through these steps. Now, let's look at dividing fractions and fill in the notes. You cannot divide fractions in the form that they are. First thing you need to do, change any mixed number to improper fraction, just like in multiplication. Have to do that first. Place a 1 under any whole number. That's making an improper fraction. Number 4, you need to keep it. In other words, bring that first fraction down. Number 5, change it. Change division to multiplication. And then you need to flip it. Find the reciprocal of the second fraction. Find the reciprocal of the second fraction. And then the last step, solve it. And then, of course, as always, you want to simplify if possible. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples. On this first one, first thing you're going to do, change mixed numbers to improper fraction. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Negative 13/6 divided by negative 1/3. Do not try to drop, change, flip, or keep, change, flip at the same time you're changing them to improper fractions. I see a lot of mistakes when students try to combine their steps. So next, we don't have any whole numbers we want to keep. So negative 13/6. Change division to multiplication and flip. Take the reciprocal and we have negative 3/1. You can do one of two things at this point. You can multiply straight across and then simplify, or if you can cross cancel, you may do that. As a matter of fact, 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 6 twice. There's not a common factor other than 1 for 13 and 1. So, and then we multiply straight across. Negative 13 times negative 1 is positive 13. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 goes into 13 6 times with 1 left over. So 6.5, and I've got a negative divided by negative, so that would be a positive. Okay, let's look at the next example. 4 1/4 divided by negative 1.5. Change them to improper fractions. We've got 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17. 4 divided by negative, and then 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And then I've changed them to improper fractions. Now I'm going to drop, change, flip, or keep, change, flip. So I have 17/4. Change division to multiplication, and then flip. Take the reciprocal. That would be negative 2/3. You can multiply straight across at this point, or if you choose to cross cancel, what goes into 2 and 4, and that would be 2. So 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 2 times. There's not a common factor of 17 and 3, so I multiply straight across. 17 times negative 1 equals negative 17. 2 times 3 is 6. And my answer is going to be negative. 6 goes into 17 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12, so that would leave 5 left over, and my denominator is the same. You can see that 17 divided by 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then subtract that, you have 5 left over. 5 is your numerator and 6, and it would be negative. Okay, pause the video and see if you can complete the third example correctly. Okay, so if you did the third example correctly, you should have gotten 1 5/6, negative divided by negative, so that would be a positive. Good luck with these. I think you'll do great, and have a great day.